I got to know about this railway 3 years ago. It's called the Derby Society of Model and Experimental Engineers. There's an element of the group which are engineers truly, and they just want to build things, haven't got any interest at all in running them. And then there's another side to us where we like to run the trains and entertain passengers on the back. I like running trains, and there's nothing nicer to me than having someone on the back that's enjoying it. Well, it's a wonderful little site. I think most people have been are intrigued that there's a little copse here, and what, a railway running in among the trees? There can't be. And then when they see it, they think it's wonderful.
The invitation was put out by the people at the Quad to us for groups of geriatric people, basically, to attend a bit of a get-together.
We were invited to the Quad, along with a lot of other groups of people, on the grounds that people over what are people over 60 doing in the Derby area. We arrived at Quad, quite a lot of apprehension, not quite sure what we were going to face. And we were quite intrigued when we found there was the magic circle and Morris dancers and heaven knows what else there. And we thought, well, how the devil do we fit into that?
We thought, well, we'd probably be asked to make are going to be involved in a documentary.
The intention was to generate a film surrounding the interest that you got.
And we were told in no uncertain terms it cannot be a documentary.
And Randall came up with the idea that we could do something similar to Thomas the Tank Engine, but not quite the same, where the engines had a life of their own. The engines could talk about the people that owned them, and they could then hopefully have a little time when people had gone into the shed to have their tea. The engines could then do their own thing and go around the track on their own and have reveries about this, that and the other as they went around the track.
It wouldn't necessarily reflect anything to do with the club, politics, issues or anything of that nature. It would just be fun.
Well, the engineers' idea and the script that they put forward originally kind of had this really nice idea of their locomotives just going off on an adventure while the engineers had a bit of a tea break. So it really kind of felt a bit like Thomas the Tank Engine meets Toy Story, and so we really felt that lended really well to animation. So we matched them up with the animator Stephen Boots, who went along to Morley Hayes just to see what was possible in the space and then really take the story and develop it further from there.
We met up with the engineers on 2 occasions to try and kind of work through the story and kind of come up with new ideas or streamline it a bit. When I first got the engineer's script, it wasn't quite what I was expecting. There was a lot in it, but I did think there was something kind of cutting through it all. I thought there was something in there that would kind of like be able to kind of draw a story out of it.
I just wanted to point to if they're talking at the beginning, it's kind of useful if the ending is kind of matches into the beginning somehow.
The end bit, obviously, we can't let one of those engines end up in a pile.
I didn't want to kind of like go in there and just make my own film. I wanted to make sure that I was sympathetic to what they wanted it to be. When you go down to the engineer's track, it's got a very nice feel to it, and I wanted to kind of bring out that within the film. I wanted to kind of make the film something that would resonate with them and kind of get their feeling of the track and what they feel when they're out riding around on the track. We got 2 days of glorious sunshine, which we hardly had over summer. It was probably the only 2 days of sunshine over summer. I was incredibly lucky, and I think that really helped add to the atmosphere of the film as well. It worked so much better with it being in sunshine. It was really what I wanted to create was these kind of just days of endless summer and drifting off into your imagination, and it was an escapism for them.
Filming is quite entertaining to watch. It's interesting to see the efforts they're going to doing at the moment with the still frame stuff.
I've liked where they've had the coach attached to the front of the locomotive, the steam locomotive, and the camera's been facing the locomotive while it's been travelling, and there's some quite interesting shots on that.
I've done very, very little filming outdoors before. It was a bit more stressful because I had no idea what the weather was going to be like on the day that we were filming. Because it was new and different, it was actually quite exciting to do. And quite a steep learning curve. I actually learned quite a lot by doing it.
I really can't see what the end film is going to be like. I shall be very interested to see it when it actually emerges. I can see there's some animation part going on to it at the moment, which is hellishly time consuming.
area.
It's
just a beat of that.
Yeah.
So we had the stop frame animation on site at Morley Hayes, and Stephen was also keen to incorporate the familiar surroundings of his animation studio. So a dream sequence was incorporated into the story.
When we were talking to the engineers, they referred to part of the track as the Big Dipper, and that gave us the idea of kind of going into a little dream sequence where the trains would imagine themselves on a roller coaster. I didn't realise how difficult it would be to actually design and build a miniature roller coaster set. Probably a couple of months worth of designing and then a couple of months of building. Just wood and hot glue, just kind of stuck together, and then bending plastic to make the tracks. With animation, everything has to be created, everything from the sets we're building to the models, to setting up the environment and the lighting, everything, to the sound effects, everything is shot bit by bit.
Filming isn't done in a logical sequence to people like me. Having an engineering background, you work through things in a set order.
We shoot 25 frames for every second of animation. In terms of this, though, I'm doubling up and shooting 2 pictures at a time, making 12 individual pictures for every second's worth of animation. But it still comes out with a lot of pictures. And in between each picture, I have to go back and move it a little tiny bit, take a picture, move it a little tiny bit. Usually when I'm doing it, the thing that causes the movement is the character. So you get into the character and then you know how that character is going to move, and you're kind of acting out that character. Usually they have arms and legs and faces to kind of like absorb you into. This is very limited in the fact that it can only move across the track, and it becomes more of a process of physics and dynamics, where you want it to go slowly up a track and then slow down and then go speeding down the other track. And you want to get the curves, the kind of weight of it and the difference in the speed. Trying to get a style and a look to it, make it look kind of bumpy and curvy, and try and concentrate on that kind of side of things.
We were very sceptical at the start, and had it not been for Randall and 1 or 2 others, we probably would have said, don't bother, we're not going to come to it. I think anyone that is approached should go into it with an open mind, because at the end of the day it's nothing like what you thought it was going to be.
Yeah, we can see that you're going to put a film together and it's going to be fine, you know, and we're enjoying doing it.
I hope the end result for them is something that they can, a nice way of looking back on that and remembering it, and a nice way of kind of like immortalising the clubhouse and the train.
It's given me a lot of things to think about in terms of filming. I think at the end of the day, despite the fact that Shine a Light are making a film, we're going to make a film.
It will have no continuity, it will be incredibly crude and amateurish in some areas, but it'll be fun.
It won't be anything like as good as yours, I'm sure, but we're going to do it.